Welcome to the Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show, where we make plant-based cooking easy. I'm Jill, and today I'm going to show you how to make the most delicious lemon polenta cake.
It's the all-free whole food plant-based cooking show.
Today's show is brought to you in part by Scindian Natural Food Products. Scindian is a family-owned and operated Australian company celebrating 20 years in business, making a wide range of affordable, plant-based, gluten-free products like burgers, sliders, sausages, and more. No preservatives, stabilizers, emulsifiers, or additives. Just clean, minimally processed, whole food ingredients that never compromise on flavor. In the US, you can find Scindian products in many independent health food and specialty grocery stores, and in the freezer aisle at select Meijer stores, or by ordering online at meijer.com. In Australia, you'll find them online at scindian.com.au and at your local supermarket. Scindian, guided by nature. Hi everybody! So I hope you're all doing well. So we are going to make this delicious lemon polenta cake today. It's kind of a light flavored, but also it has this really interesting texture. I just absolutely love this cake. So we're just going to jump right in. And yes, you're going to need a lot of lemons. This requires a lot of lemon juice, so get ready. But first, we're going to grind our oats. This is 1 cup of rolled oats that we're just going to lightly blend or lightly grind into a flour. You don't want it into a super fine flour. You still want it to have a little bit of grit to it. Okay, that looks really good. All right, so we're just going to pour that in our bowl. Set our blender aside because we're going to need that again in just a second. And I have here, that is the main ingredient for this guy. This is the polenta. So polenta is just ground corn, and it's a special grind of corn. It's a bit coarser than cornmeal, and then finer than obviously dry corn. So this is 1 cup of polenta and 1.5 cups of almond meal or almond flour. And then we have 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And then you're going to need about a teaspoon of lemon zest. So if you don't already have one, lemon zesters are so cool, so handy. I absolutely love lemon zest. I like to add it to a lot of different dishes. It's good to add lemon zest on your savory dishes. There's loads of vitamin C in here, and it just gives you a little punch of that lemony flavor. But you don't want to go too far. If you can see, I'm not really going down to the pith, the really white part. You just really want to get the surface, because the white part is the part that's really, really bitter. Okay, looks pretty good. Shake that in there. Now we're going to stir this up. And make sure you get that stirred pretty well, because you want to get that baking soda pretty well distributed in there. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, so now on to the wet ingredients, and you're going to need your blender again for this. So we need 1/2 cup of lemon juice. So I have almost 1/2 cup here. We probably just need a couple more of these. My handy dandy lemon squeezer here. I just love this guy. Let's see, maybe one more. So this is going to give it a really, really nice lemony flavor with all of that lemon juice in there. Okay. Okay, so we're going to pour that in our blender. And it's okay if there's a little oat dust still in there. It's okay, because it's all going to go in there anyway, along with the oats in there. 1 cup of pitted dates, a teaspoon of vanilla, and 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar. We're using the vinegar because that is what's going to react with the baking soda and give it some rise, because polenta cake, it's a very dense, it's a heavy grain, so it needs a lot of oomph. And those two together will give it a lot of oomph. And here we have just 1/4 cup of water. And if you want the full recipe, the recipe link will be in the details below. So now we're just gonna blend this up until you really can't see the dates anymore, or even if they're in teeny little chunks. While we're waiting for that, I'd like to share with you some background on our show. The Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show is crowd-funded, which means these free weekly recipe videos, along with our entire catalog of recipes on our website, plantbasedcookingshow.com, and our new Plant-Based Cooking Made Easy cookbook, are all made possible in part by the generous patronage of our supporting members. By becoming a supporting member, you gain access to great member perks like monthly product giveaways, free downloads of our ebooks, and access to our in-depth courses, including our 28 Days Plant-Based Made Easy course, where we offer a step-by-step guide to making the switch to a fully plant-based diet. We create this show for the hundreds of thousands of viewers just like you who tune in each month from all over the world to make it easy for everyone to live a plant-based lifestyle. So if you love our content, please join us on our mission and become a supporting member today by following the link in the description. Okay, let's get back to the show. Okay, that looks about right. So we're just going to leave this here to the side because we have another secret ingredient here. And that is aquafaba. And if you've never done this before, it's a really interesting kind of a science project almost. So this is 1/2 cup. This is the liquid out of 1 can of chickpeas, an unsalted can of chickpeas. And it comes out to about a 1/2 cup. So for this, you're gonna need a mixer with a whisk on it because we're gonna blend this just like you're making a whipped cream. And you're gonna be so surprised. So we need to whip this for 4 minutes. Seems like a long time, but you wanna whip it until it has the nice firm peaks, like if you were making a meringue. So let's get in there. And I'm using this really, you know, if you've done that before, or done this before, you'll know that you need kind of a high sided container because this stuff at first kind of flips all over the place. Okay guys, now you come in for a look at this. So you want to see these soft peaks that it forms? That's what you want to see. And the reason we use this is the same as the baking soda and the apple cider vinegar, because it needs some lift, right? It's really heavy, so it needs a little bit of help. And the aquafaba gives it that nice fluffy, you know, we're using that in, you know, it kind of works like egg whites. Okay, so now we're just going to pour this all into the dry ingredients. And then when you pour this in, you don't want to stir this in, or I guess we stir this up first. We'll mix this up a little bit first. And it feels kind of dry, but that is okay. And then we'll get that aquafaba in there. So you can see how dry that is. It's really thick. That would be a super, super dense, heavy cake. More like a pound cake, probably. Okay. So now we get this in here, and I'm going to pour the whole thing in, but I'm going to fold it in, okay? Because you don't, you know, all of this aquafaba is whipped and there's air caught in these little teeny bubbles. So if you just started stirring this, all those little bubbles will pop and the fluffiness of that will collapse. So we're just folding it in, trying to be as gentle as you can, but it is, you know, it's a coarse mixture, so it takes a little bit of effort just to get this all mixed together. But I just kind of fold and turn my bowl. Fold, turn the bowl. And eventually it all comes together. Okay, there we have it. Okay, so here I've got my oven already preheated to 350 degrees. And then I have just a regular 9-inch cake pan here. This is a silicone baking dish. You can also use, your aluminum pan. You could lightly grease it or line it with some parchment paper. It's all good. But you do definitely want to line it with parchment or a little oil, because this is the kind of cake you're going to want to take out of the pan when you present it, right? Because you want to see, you take it out and flop it upside down. So you want it to come out really well and not break. And now we're just going to really lightly smooth it around. Get all that off of there. Doesn't have to be perfectly smooth, because this is going to turn into the bottom. This top is going to turn into the bottom. So you won't even see that. Okay, so now I'm going to put this in the oven for 35 minutes. Okay, so while that is in the oven, we are going to make a delicious lemon kind of syrup to pour on the top of this cake. So you need your blender again. Got a ½ cup of pitted dates, another ½ cup of lemon juice, 3/4 of a cup of water, and then 1 tablespoon of arrowroot powder. If you don't have arrowroot powder, you could also use cornstarch. That'll still work the same. Okay, so we're going to blend this up until there aren't any more date chunks left. Okay. Now we're going to pour this in a little saucepan. And we're going to cook this on, you want to bring it up to heat. So you bring it up to almost a boil and then turn it down a little bit. And you want to just keep on stirring with your whisk so that it doesn't get lumps in it. And you can go to whatever thickness you like. If you like it more syrupy, you can leave it pretty, syrupy. But you can also take it a little further so it's more like a little bit runnier than a lemon curd. So we're just gonna keep stirring this until we get to that, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so our lemon sauce is done. If you want to come in and take a look, see the consistency, you should be able to pour it, because we're gonna pour it on top of that cake. Yum! Okay, now our cake is cooled. I let it sit for probably about 20 minutes, so it's completely cool. I'm just running my knife around the edge so it comes away really nice and clean. Okay, then I'm going to flip my plate over and then flip. And hopefully this all comes out really nice and clean. That's one benefit to these silicone things. You can feel when it's let loose on the bottom, so you know there's hopefully no chunks left sitting in the bottom of that pan. Look at that! It is golden and beautiful, and it smells so delicious. Okay, so now for the delicious sauce. I'm just gonna pour, and if you can put this on a cake pan or a cake stand. I like to put it on a plate that's just a little bit of a curve to it, so that the middle of the cake kind of slumps down a little bit so that you can pour this on there and it creates a little bit of a pool. Because you want that, you know, when you cut that piece of cake out, then it's just going to ooze all down the sides. And I'm just spreading it a little bit out to the edges, letting it flow over just a little. And I'm going to save just a little in the pan. Just so, you know, when you cut off your piece, if you want a little extra sauce, you have a little extra sauce to pour over the top. There we go. And this is all just going to naturally kind of pool by itself. All right, so I'm going to get a plate and a fork, and I'll meet you at the table for a taste. Okay, time to test. This looks so good. And look at that. Oh wow, look at that. Just beautiful, just beautiful. Perfectly done in the center, but it's all about that taste, right? You know, we were testing this the other day, and one of my daughters said, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of a cake donut. So this texture and the flavor of the cake is kind of like a little bit dry cake donut. So delicious. And that syrup on top, so tangy, it balances out the richness of the cake. You are gonna love this. Go ahead and give this a like, and I'll see you next time.